Okay, what's up guys, and welcome to what is another commentary video. Today we're going to be touching the best settings for Warzone. Now, if you're new to this game and you're wondering where to start on, I'd recommend most people start on a PS4 or an Xbox. Obviously Xbox gives you less input delay, but PS4 or an Xbox. However, if you are pro at Warzone or have reached a good level, or if you have got loads of experience in shooter games like H1Z1 or Apex Legends or Battlefront, then I would recommend you stay on keyboard and mouse. But most people, I think, watching this video would be on controller, so I recommend you stick to controller. It takes some time. Take some time to get used to it. Now, don't change your binds. So if you are on Xbox, keep it as L2, R2. Now, some people say on PlayStation, you may want to change your binds to L1 and R1. Don't do this. This screws you over. You can't play a single other shooter game if you change your binds to L1 and R1. And also, it's just so hard to go back. Like, once you changed it to L1 and R1 for a bit, you can't go back to L2 and R2. So I would definitely not recommend that unless you actually can't, unless you've actually tried and that's what you've been playing on for the last year or so, I don't know. The next thing we're going to be talking about is positioning, because positioning is the thing that wins you fights and gets you high kills. Now, I'm not talking about dropping airport or dropping superstore to get the most kills. What I'm talking about here is going to like some high ground to have the high over people and being aware, basically. Like you can see there, I got shot in the back. You need to be aiming in at all times. So you need to, positioning is key. You need to position, whether it's on top of houses, whether it's on mountains, just anywhere, any positioning that will give you the advantage, even maybe crouching. The next thing we're going to be talking about is awareness. Now, you need to be aiming in. This is where aiming in comes in. You need to be aiming in front and behind you, because if you're always aiming in before you hit your shots, even if somebody hits you first, you are more likely to hit more shots, and therefore you need to hit less shots than them to get the kill. So you always want to be aiming in front of you and behind you. Don't forget to aim in behind you, because a lot of people die that way because they aim in front of them, but then they're so clueless to what's happening behind them. And in Warzone, I'm pretty sure you guys know, if you aim in front but not behind and you get shot in the back, you're very dead. Yeah, and the next thing we're going to be talking about is the fact that you don't, now listen to me, you don't want a high dead zone. Your dead zone should be low. You want I'd say 0.8 to 0.11 maybe. And touching on horizontal and vertical dead zone, you want your horizontal dead zone on 5, and no, you want your horizontal dead zone and vertical dead zone the same. Now, mine is on 5 and 5, but you can go as low as if you like it, because that's the best one that suits for me. But if you like it, you can go lower to maybe 4 and 4, and the highest is 7 and 7. If you go too low, your dead zone will be too slow and you'll be aiming towards the side of other players. If you go too high, it's going to be very hard to control. Now, in terms of aim response curve, I do like to play on linear, because that's just the kind of player I am. But I would say it is a good thing to switch to dynamic every now and then. Because dynamic, if you switch to dynamic, you'll get more accustomed to linear, and you'll come back like 100 times better. So don't forget to do that. Now, if we're talking about aiming, your crosshair needs to hit the other player. So usually when you're aiming, the crosshair goes like towards the left with an automatic gun, or for some people it goes to the right. So if your crosshair is going to the left, you want to head towards the right. But if your crosshair is going to the right, you want to head towards the left. But ever so slightly, you don't want to go too far. Now the next thing is going to be that, like you saw there, I just got shot in the back. You always want to be aiming in behind you. Now I know I'm probably going to say that a lot of times, but aiming in behind you is very important for doing well. Now here, the next thing I do wrong here is I see that it's long range, and I don't use my grenades or anything. You need to be using those, because if you use grenades and loads of other things, Warzone, if you just use your gun in Warzone, you can only get to a certain level, and that before you reach diamond lobbies, and then everyone's as good, and it's basically just luck whether you kill someone or not. So you need to be using your utility items, and you need to be using UAVs. So you need to be using any vehicles you can possible. Now, I know you can get blown up in a vehicle, and I know that can be like a one-shot kill, but if you're in a UAV mid-game, you have like almost a 90% higher chance of surviving, and I'm saying that from like the bottom of my heart. So you have a very high chance of surviving if you are in a vehicle in mid-game compared to if you are not. And the next thing is, in Warzone, if you're trying to get high kills, the best game mode I would recommend is either trios or quads. Playing in team game modes is the best. Warzone can be a lot about teamwork, because even if one person goes down, you still have the other two people. And also if you're a solo, you can kill more people, because you can kill 2 or 3 people from that team. So I would recommend, if you are actually looking to get really high kill games and things like that, then you want to try, if possible, and play in like teams. Now I know not everyone wants to play trios or quads, but if you want the kills, I would go for it. Now, one of the final things we're going to be talking about is the fact that you want your HUD to be on 100. Now, you want to be seeing everything, and you want I have my motion blur on low, because even though my game may look a bit worse, I want the best performance out of my PS4, or you might want the best performance out of your Xbox or whatever you're on, or PC even. So I have my motion blur on the lowest setting, not the lowest, but I have it off so I can concentrate better. And another thing is volume. Now, not a lot of people touch on volume, but you want your volume to be quite high. Now, if you skip a few minutes, like to 9:25, you'll see what all my settings in depth are. But I would say volume should be really high. Now, dialogue volume, you don't really need that, so you put it on lower. Effects volume, I have mine on high. But voice chat, I have on. It all depends what is used to you when it comes to volume, but I would say you want the effects to be high, because that's what's going to help you see other players, and that is basically what's going to give you the advantage in Warzone. So we're now going to move on to my settings. So for the first setting, I have default button layout. Don't switch to L1 or R1. My dead zone is 0.10, 5 and 5. ADS doesn't matter too much. I have my aim response curve dynamic, which is what I recommend for you, but I don't actually have it on that. Aim assist standard. Slide behavior, you want that on tap. You don't want contextual tap actually on use/reload behavior, because it becomes a nightmare trying to pick up guns. So that is why I don't have contextual tap on. And everything else I keep default. So I have world motion blur disabled. I have weapon motion blur enabled. Doesn't really do much. Film grain, I would keep that low. I'm just showing you what it's like when it's high. I don't know, I'd keep that low. And what else? My audio. So I have it on boost high, 100 master volume, 80 dialogue volume, a bit loud, and 100 effects volume. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave